Testing, 1, 2, 1, 2. This is Radio XM. Welcome back to the Alpha Ginger Show, and once again, I'm doing my fantasy football tips and advice segment that I've been doing the last few weeks. I don't have a name for it yet. If I had a clever name, it would probably appeal better to most. But I will continue doing these videos throughout the entire NFL season. So if you need help setting up your fantasy football team, ask me questions in the comments. I'm going to try to help you out. And watch the video, because that's the main point of this, is to help you out. So with that being said, I'm going to change up the format one more time here to make it a little more smooth / not as long, because all of my videos have been like 20 minutes long so far, and I feel like that's a little excessive. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do 3 players from each category. So QB, running back, wide receiver, tight end, maybe defense, kickers. Again, those are kind of, if I feel really strongly about one, I'll bring it up, but if not, I'm just going to kind of leave it to the side. But 3 from each of the main categories, and I'm going to kind of add in not the obvious ones that'll do good like I've been doing. Like, everyone knows Patrick Mahomes is going to do good. Okay, we don't need to add him in to the 3 I think is going to do well segment. That's an obvious one, right? So they're going to be more or less ones I think you should pick up off the waiver wire. And ones that you might be considering, who do I start over each other, you know? So hopefully it'll make it move smoother, and hopefully it's a little more helpful. Okay? Sound good? Great. Let's go. All right, so we're going to start with the running backs this week, and the first one I'm feeling good about this week is James Conner. Now, he had a little rough going last week against the 49ers, but that was a pretty perplexing game for both teams throughout the entire 4 quarters. Like, there was turnovers galore. No one was producing anything very well. It was pretty bad. But James Conner should have a bounce back week. He's up against the Bengals, who looked good week 1, but the last 2 weeks have been floundering, and they've been pretty lax on the rush. So try to look to start James Conner. If you have him, he should have a terrific bounce back week. For my second running back, I suggest everyone start. I would suggest starting Josh Jacobs of the Oakland Raiders. I've talked about him almost every single week, and I thought he was going to have, I actually predicted it last week, he was going to have a little bit of a struggle last week. And sure enough, he did. He didn't get to rush very well. Granted, they fell behind really quick, so it wasn't in the game plan. I swear, I will end your lives if you come near me one more time. Anywho, Josh Jacobs is going to have a bounce back week, I have a feeling. He's up against the Colts, who are not as good against the rush as some other teams, and they've allowed a decent amount of rushing yards this year. So look for Josh Jacobs to try to get a bounce back week this week. I'm not going to try to estimate how many points he'll get, because I know I'll be wrong. But if you have him and you're questioning, do I start him or not? I would lean towards starting him. And then for my final pick, if you have LaShawn McCoy, or if you were somehow able to pick up Darrell Williams off the waiver wire after this last week, then you're in luck. Damien Williams will not be starting for a second week in a row for the Kansas City Chiefs. So, that being said, who do you play? LaShawn McCoy or Darrell Williams? I would lean towards, if LaShawn McCoy is healthy, LaShawn McCoy. But he did get banged up in that game. So, it's kind of a wait and see sort of thing till Sunday. If LaShawn is healthy, I'd say go ahead and start him. But If he's not, Darrell Williams is surely going to get plenty of touches going through the week. So look to have one of them for this week. I wouldn't look any further than this week because Damien Williams should be back, and he's going to be the lead back. Let's just be honest. All right, so moving on to the Cowboys. I would never move on to the Cowboys. So moving on to the quarterbacks. The first quarterback I think you should look to start this week, if you have him, is Case Keenum. Now, I know what you're thinking. Case Keenum? Really? Why would I want to start him? He just threw like 4 interceptions, like fumbled once or something in his last game. Here's why you want to start him. He's actually the 11th ranked QB through 3 weeks in this NFL season. No one would have guessed that, but he is. He's still producing somehow, even though he's a little mediocre in his performance. But guess what? That doesn't matter. He's up against a Giants defense that just got gashed this last week. So their secondary was miserable. And Case Keenum has targets like Terry McLaurin. Like, he's incredible. So I think Case Keenum has a good argument to be a good start this week. So look to start him if you have him. Also, I don't know why I'm feeling good about this quarterback necessarily this week, but if you have Matt Stafford and you're questioning starting him or not, I'm feeling good about him this week. He's up against Kansas City Chiefs, who could be bad, could be good. They were a little more tight on the Ravens this last week, but I think personally they're gonna fall back a bit, and I think Matt Stafford has enough targets to really do some damage against this Kansas City team. So I'm feeling good about Matt Stafford. And then you know what? Go ahead and start Jacoby Brissett. I think a lot of people were down on Jacoby Brissett going into this season because of the whole Luck situation. Everybody was just looking forward to Luck doing amazing stuff. But a lot of people overlook how good Jacoby Brissett actually has been in his career so far when he gets the chance to play, and how well he's been through 3 weeks already. He's been pretty good for the Colts. He's actually been very efficient with how he's thrown passes and how he's found targets. So, I think he's a good option this week. He's up against Oakland, who isn't necessarily the worst defense you could face, but they just got ran over this last week. So I think they're still kind of vulnerable. So if you can find Jacoby Brissett, if he's on the waiver, pick him up. Start him. He'll be good. I promise. Okay, moving on to wide receivers now. First wide receiver I think you should start this week, and I'm feeling really good about him. He's starting in my lineup. Tyler Boyd for the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, I already talked about how they kind of fell apart these last 2 weeks, but Tyler Boyd has been efficient and consistent with his fantasy value through his whole career, basically. So I would look to start him this week. They're up against the Steelers, who can't figure out how to win a football game this year. They just completely fell apart when Ben Roethlisberger went down. So look to start Tyler Boyd. I know they just picked up Minkah Fitzpatrick, and he's probably going to do amazing. Trust me. I know. He used to play for my boys, the Dolphins. I get it. He's good. But I think since he's going to find a way around their secondary, and Tyler Boyd's going to have a huge day, a field day. So look to start him this week. And then Boy Oberto was Mike Evans good this last week. He knocked it out of the park. Like, where did that come from? I mean, everybody knew he was good and he was capable of doing that kind of performance, but we didn't see it coming, okay? So, he's my second pick. If you could start Mike Evans and you haven't been trusting him, start him. I think he's going to ride this last week's success further. I think it's just a jumping off point. I think with that performance, they're going to build on that and try to get him the ball more and more consistently, because they don't do that very well in Tampa Bay. And he's up against the Rams, who necessarily isn't a bad defense, but I think he has a chance to shine still, because Jameis Winston is pretty good at throwing deep balls, and Mike Evans is good at catching deep balls. And then finally, for wide receivers, I think Sterling Shepard of the New York Giants is going to have a terrific week this week. Now, I know I already mentioned Case Keenum having a good shot for a good fantasy week against the Giants, but I think the same could be said for the Giants against the Redskins, because the Redskins are just, they can't figure out how to play football this year. Like, they have the weapons, they just can't put them together, except for Terry McLaurin. I love the guy. He's amazing. But I do think Sterling Shepard will have a great week this week. Daniel Jones killed it last week. He killed it. By the way, start Daniel Jones. If you're crazy not to, start Daniel Jones. I think he's for real. Okay? I think he's for real. But with Daniel Jones, I think Sterling Shepard has a chance to really have a huge week this week against the Redskins. I think they can gash him for quite a few fantasy points. So look to start Sterling Shepard this week. And then as for tight ends, none of them really stand out to me this week as, like, other than the obvious top dogs that are usually going to perform amazing for their teams. But for three tight ends, I'm just going to name some here. I think Delaney Walker is going to have a good week. He's got a good matchup. I think he'll do fine. I think that Vernon Davis is going to have a good week. He's a go-to target for the Redskins against a very miserable secondary after last week for the New York Giants. So look to start Vernon Davis as well. And then if you have Mark Andrews, don't worry. I think this last week was just a fluke. I think he has a bounce-back week in him. I think Lamar Jackson was just kind of missing some of his targets this last week. And the Chiefs' defense played much better than normal. So I think Mark Andrews is going to have a decent time against the Cleveland Browns. So look to start him if you were concerned about doing so. And that's pretty much it, other than just a couple of little tips, I guess, for this week. One, if you have Chargers players, they're probably going to do amazing. So don't fear that they're not. They're against the Dolphins. And as much as I want to say we had progress this last week, losing 33-6 to the Dallas Cowboys, we're still a bad team, and we still haven't figured out how to win a game. So now granted, the Chargers have the same issue for the last decade, it seems, where they actually find a way to lose games. We can't find a way to win games. They find extraordinary ways to lose games. So if we had a chance against anyone, I would say it's the Chargers. But I'm not gonna jump for joy. We're gonna lose. I just know it. Austin Eckler's gonna run over us. They're gonna have a field day with us. Okay. Speaking of Austin Eckler, my second topic. This is your last week to really get the most value out of him. It was just reported that Melvin Gordon is going to be returning to the Chargers today, actually, because today's Thursday. But he's not supposed to play this week. He's supposed to play next week. So if you're not Dolphins people or Austin Eckler owners, Gordon won't be a threat to your Eckler fantasy value this week, but he definitely will be next week. So Eckler won't lose a bunch of fantasy value. He's still very valuable alone, but he won't be the RB1 that he was. He'll be a more complimentary handcuff to Melvin Gordon. And then also, can I just say, Terry McLaurin, this kid, I have few favorites in the league that I love so dearly. Alvin Kamara, Derrick Henry, Adam Thielen. But Terry McLaurin is quickly finding a spot in my Fave 5. So keep it up, Terry McLaurin. You're up against the Giants. I expect you to have another good week. Make some more history, man. And then finally, I just wanted to give you a little update on my teams again. I'm 3-0 in all my leagues still. So, don't want to brag. Actually, it wasn't my best week in the Collusion League. So in the Confederacy of Collusion League that I'm in, that I've always talked about in these videos, I didn't have a very good week, actually. I won, but it's only because my opponent, just none of his players showed up to play. So I won, but it wasn't a very satisfying win, because if anything, it showed my team has flaws and I could easily lose. But that's beside the point. I'm 3-0, which means I'm still the best in my league. I'm sure I'm tied with one other person, undefeated in our league, but it still means I'm best in our league. So, recognize. I'll keep saying it until y'all recognize. But that is it for this episode. If you enjoyed this video, please click the like button below. Also, comment any questions you have about fantasy football. Again, I've been doing this for 5 years now, so I have a little bit of knowledge on the goods and the bads of this fantasy crazy world. But leave your comments. I'll try to answer them best I can. Also, comment if you like this format. If you think there's something I could change, let me know. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel, because that'll help you find my videos faster instead of typing in weird redhead kid that talks about football and also looks like the Miz. But anyways, as always, don't quit your daydream. Adios. That was very loud. Very loud. I'm so sorry.